Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. I am so thrilled that you're here. It's a gorgeous summer evening in Southern California. And I was like, oh my God, we're competing against summer. So thank you. You got an interest in leadership that is bigger than summer outside the window. And I just acknowledge that in you. You're up to big things. People will keep joining, but we're going to go ahead and start. This is it. This is Leadership Lab number 3. We made it to the finish line, and we want to launch you into your summer. We want to launch you into your summer. We want to launch you into your summer that's launching you into grad school tonight. So Dr. Cooper and the team, we've kind of tweaked the deck for tonight to give you some real, I can use it tomorrow morning kind of takeaways. So, we're thrilled that you're here. This is session 3, bringing it all together of our second Leadership Lab pilot year, and we're just thrilled that you're here. So in advance, we're also going to send a feedback link. Dr. Thakur and I, Sarka, will send the link within the next 48 hours. Sorry I took so long last time. And we'd love for you to give us some feedback on Lab 3, 2, or 1, any of the combination that you attended. So we're just thrilled that you're here. So being a leader begins with leading yourself. Everything that we're talking about tonight is designed to empower you, right? The world is going to be hungry for your point of view because you're going to have UCLA on your resume when you complete your graduate study. And en route to the world getting to hear from you, you get to lead yourself first before you lead others. So that's one of our headlines, and failure to prepare is preparing to fail. So that's from our famous coach, John Wooden. So again, thank you. You're here tonight. You said no to the relaxing COVID restrictions in the beginning of summer, and you're here, and we're going to give you some extreme value as our commitment. So can we go to the next slide? On behalf of our committee, we won't do the introductions. You got to hear from our committee, but on behalf of all of us, some of us have been working on this 3 years. A couple of us are new this year, but on behalf of all of us, this is a cross-campus interdisciplinary team, and we're having fun partnering with each other, and we hope you have fun meeting each other cross-campus wise in the breakouts tonight. We're going to try groups of 4 tonight, and you're going to have at least 2 breakouts, possibly 3. We'll just see how it goes. We're trying to get this first part started quicker. All right, next slide. So Dr. Cooper, myself, you're going to hear less from me and more from Khush tonight. So that's good news for everybody because she's got the magic sauce. So we're thrilled to lead this. Next slide. For those of you, there may be some of you joining for the first time. In session 1, we talked about the power of context, what makes extraordinary leaders living life on the court versus in the stands, how the power of context impacts everything. There's always a context going on, and leaders get to say, they use the power of language to generate a future that wasn't going to happen otherwise, which future fulfills the concerns of the relevant parties. So there's a lot more in Dr. Cooper's full class, but we gave you a slice of context in session number 1. Last time we did 2 of the 4 foundational factors. We looked at integrity, a function of workability. Without integrity, nothing works. Not good or bad, but like gravity, it's a positive phenomenon that is, and the presence of it makes a difference. When integrity is present, people work, systems work, medicine works, healing works, interventions work. When integrity is absent, things work less well. So the power of integrity, the power of authenticity. We sent you out of Lab 2 with the opportunity, the bonus assignment to talk to your world. Hey, mom, hey, dad, why am I going to grad school? Hey, best friend, hey, support network. Like, why did I say yes to UCLA? What's the future that I'm aiming at that UCLA is going to help me to achieve, right? It's an opportunity to let people in. We think people can read our mind. They can't. We open our mouth. The world is hungry for your leadership. These are all baby steps as you start to take yourself forward into the journey of leadership. So that was half of what we wanted to cover in section 2. Tonight, we're going to wrap up the other 2 foundational factors, being given being by something bigger than oneself, and being cause in the matter. So we're going to start with that. And then speech acts. Speech acts are incredible. These are tools. These are levers. These are available to you tomorrow and for the rest of the summer and for your entire time at UCLA. Powerful, linguistic, coherent structures that we're going to share to you tonight that you can start to use tonight with your roommates, your friends and family, tomorrow in the real world, and you can use all through the summer and all through grad school. We're going to complete the foundational factors. We're going to talk about speaking leaderships. We're going to delve into some powerful speech acts, and then we're going to kind of bring it all together. And like I said, two breakout rooms minimum, possibly more. Next slide, please. So again, this is a tiny extract from a 50-hour course that Dr. Cooper teaches. She's teaching it this summer in UCLA Summer Session C. It's going to be a 6-week course, 8 hours a week for 6 weeks. The official full name of the course is Being a Leader in the Effective Exercise of Leadership, an Ontological Phenomenological Model. And those two $15 words are really amazing words. Ontology, the study of being. I'm a human being. My dog is a dog, but I am a human being. How come he's not a dog being? Because he's just a dog. Well, what makes a human being? That is ontology, the study of being. How am I being when I walk into the room? Am I being happy? Am I being sad? Am I being moody? Am I being pensive? Am I being expressed? There's a being that goes with being a human being that mostly goes unnoticed. Ontology is the study of that. And phenomenology is the model one uses, is the method one uses to access the model of inquiry into human being through ontology. So phenomenology, if a fly was on the wall, could they see it? What's actually happening first person as lived on the court real time? Not conceptual, not theoretical, not I read it in a book, but in the moment when there's a leadership moment called for in my life, am I there? Am I out here? Am I present? Am I being with the people in my life? And am I being with people in my life in a way that I can make a difference? So, like I said, tonight is a tiny extract of a 50-hour course, but Dr. Cooper, we've cherry-picked some of the really powerful distinctions, and we're going to give those to you tonight. And we're going to launch you into the summer, launching yourself into graduate school, that you have the best fall term of all the incredible academics behind you to date, that you start and stand on the shoulders of your own academic success and launch yourself powerfully. So anything else, Khush, about the course? All right. Next slide, please. So quick refresher, how to listen tonight. We don't have the truth. We don't have any answers. We have some powerful distinctions. We have some discovery opportunity. That which I discover for myself, I get to keep. That which somebody tells me, I forget. But when I discover something for myself, I get to keep it. So tonight, I put on a jacket for you. Look at this. I have a jacket and pants. I am transitioning out of COVID. I even have dress shoes on, for God's sakes. This is how much I love you, human beings. Okay, so how to listen tonight, like a loose jacket. Oh, what's she talking about? She's talking about being given being by something bigger than myself. What in the world is that about? She's talking about being caused in the matter. She's talking about a speech act as a powerful linguistic structure that I could employ tomorrow to bring leadership to a situation with people I care about. Wow, that's cool. Not the truth. I don't have to agree with it or disagree with it. It's okay to experience cognitive dissonance. Try it on like a jacket, like the first line of a joke, right? The duck walks into a bar. Well, ducks don't walk into bars. That's not the point. It's a joke. Just go with it, okay? Tonight is not a joke. Tonight is powerfully powerful, but try it. Listen with Listen with discovery as a goal, not memorization as a goal. Listen with, could that make a difference for me? And if so, how, when, and where? Maybe I'll try that out. Listen to discover. Don't listen to memorize, okay? All right, next slide, please. Okay, so let me do a quick poll. This should take 20 seconds. I'm going to launch the poll. I'm just curious. I didn't title the question. Did you attend lab 1 and 2? Did you attend lab 2? Did you attend only lab 1? Or is tonight your very first one? Oh, look at that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh my God, this is so fun. Look how many people are here for the first time. I love it. All right, that's possibly in our program because we have a round 3 that's later than medicine and dentistry and some of the other programs who admitted back in April. So if you're new in the fully employed program or the executive MBA program or the financial engineering, the Anderson programs, welcome. If you're new in any of the other programs, welcome. All right, do you all see the results, or do I have to publish it or something? Does listening to the Lab 1 recording count? Pooja, yes. Yes, and we appreciate that. Of course, yeah. Or maybe I didn't put a question, I watched them on video. We're just curious. All right.
Yeah, there we go, Dylan, it ended.
Okay. And does it show, did I share it now?
Yes, so the results are the winner is attended both labs 1 and 2. So that's half of us. So 53 of us will have attended all 3 labs. And then we have 19 folks who are here for the first time. So warm welcome to them.
That is awesome. Thanks, everyone. We do respect and appreciate your time. Okay, next slide. So we kind of wanted to mix it up. We want to keep the energy up a little bit. We know one of the things that you love is meeting each other. So we're going to launch you into your first group. What do we want to do? Groups of 4 in 12 minutes. Khush, does that sound good? So we're gonna send you into the groups. If you got your cell phone, you want to take a quick picture of this, one person out of the group. We want you to meet each other. You know, there may be 2 people or 3 people from the same program. We're going to use the random feature, but hopefully you're going to meet people you haven't met in labs 1 or 2. And if you're meeting again, that's great too. But you know, what's your name? What program are you in? Why are you choosing to go to graduate school at UCLA? Every single person here tonight got admitted to more than one school, unless you just love UCLA and only applied here. But if you were qualified, and that is awesome, Katrina Hercules, I still love your name. Oh my God, I'm always gonna love your name, Katrina. That is the coolest name ever. I wish my last name was Hercules. Okay, sidebar. Everybody, if you're qualified to get admitted to UCLA, you're qualified to get admitted to lots of other places. So you're trusting us with your future. You're trusting UCLA with your one and only wild and precious future. Why'd you choose that? Okay, so name, I'm Dylan, I'm in medicine, and I chose UCLA because of the specialization in endocrinology or whatever it is. And then share about what your career or schooling or relationships are currently about. Ooh, that's a big question. That's not the normal icebreaker. That is, what is your purpose in life? Ooh, the question's getting bigger. I know this is the 3rd lab, people. And what is the purpose of your career or schooling or relationships? Okay, so you're not going to remember this question. This is some grown-up grammar here. So take a picture of this with your phone. Make sure you got lots of this going around. Okay, so easy is name and program. But the second 2, why are you choosing to go to graduate school at UCLA? And what are you about? What's your career or your schooling or your relationships, right? What's that North Star that pulls you forward to make a difference out in the real world? Okay, so this is an opportunity, really. It's an opportunity to stretch a little bit. This hopefully is an uncomfortable question. It's okay to be uncomfortable, right? You're trying on a jacket, trying it on. If it's a bad color, you can take it off. You don't have to buy the jacket. But play the game is my invitation. Okay, so we're going to take 12 minutes, groups of 4. The person, we're going to go alphabetical. Okay, so alpha by first name. So A, then B, then C, then D. So A, B, C, D, alpha by first name. And the person with the longest hair is the timekeeper. Okay, timekeeper, person with the longest hair. Please just, watch. If somebody gets done in 1 minute, say, well, what else do you see about that? So if somebody's feeling shy, be encouraging. If somebody's talking a lot, give them a 30-second warning at 2.5 minutes, and then let's give everybody 3 full minutes, please. All right. Anybody clear? Hands up. Anything? Yeah, buts, what ifs? Awesome. Enjoy meeting each other. 12 minutes. Have fun. We'll see you in 12 minutes. 3 minutes each. Erin, give us a green light whenever we should start, please.
I sure will. Have about 37 seconds and I'll let you know.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, let me see if I can remember it correctly. Is it Shiante? No, I didn't say it right.
Yes, you did.
Oh, I did. Okay, good. That was from the end of lab 1. Nice to see you again.
I think I left you with something to remember, so that's probably why.
I need accents. Come on, give me an accent. But I was trying to remember. Welcome back. Great to see you again.
Thank you too.
All right, welcome everyone. Welcome back. We had some people who were just getting off work, and so some of the groups had some people join in the middle. If you just joined, welcome. We'll have another breakout, at least one more, possibly 2. So we'll get additional chances to meet. So reflecting on what you just reflected on, because tonight is about discovering, What could you discover? What is one word that captures your purpose in life, the purpose of your career or schooling, or the purpose of your relationships? So does everybody know how to use menti.com? You go to menti.com and you use the code 7517-6850. And if you could try, I know it's hard, but if you could distill one word, then our word cloud will populate proportionally. And if you don't want to be biased by other people's words, don't look at the screen.
Could you please repeat the number 75?
Oh, yes. I'll put it in the chat too. It's
Oh, I see it now.
7517
Okay, I see it. Thank you.
6850. Sorry about that. Okay, 7517 6850.
Yeah, it is really cool. I agree. Growth seems to be the big winner.
How about that?
Oh, it's really great. Growth, family, development, love, impact, community, giving, change, service. I think we should have these kinds of people at our school, Dylan. What do you think?
I think there's some admission directors on this call who know what the heck they're all about. That's awesome.
Never done growing. Never done growing.
Improving lives, happy health. I like happy health. That's cool. Care, connection, inspire others, help others to succeed, compassion, protection, nice, peace, happiness, success, development, passion, leading innovation, influence, kindness, smiles. Yeah, just bring it all the way down to, can I walk through life with a tender visage? I love smiles. Help others to succeed, learn, giving.
Very good. And keep the answer in mind. We're going to use it later. Keep your answer in mind, or answers.
All right,
All
Khush, is this the transition? Am I handing it
Yeah.
over to you? All
Yes.
right.
Yes, it is. Well, yeah, I can do the next one. All right. So Dylan teed this up earlier for you. That leadership begins with leading yourself, right? Practice leading yourself, and then you'll be equipped to lead others. So we are here to inquire into what it's going to take to have you lead yourself to the best school quarter ever. And so next slide. So these 4 foundational factors that we distinguished last time, we find that when masters, studying leaders over and over and over, that they form the foundation for being an effective leader. Right? When we look at leaders, these beings are present. These ways of being are present. We dealt with integrity and authenticity last time, so let's get to 3 and 4. But before we do that, I would love to hear if anyone took on the quote unquote homework assignment, and inquired into bringing authenticity to grad school preparation, bringing authenticity to an area where they realized they were being inauthentic. Anyone who took that on and tried it out, I'd love to hear from you. And also love to hear from folks who had a challenge taking it on, right? Or avoided taking it on, right? What did you notice? What did you notice about being authentic?
Want to just use the raise hand function or just
Yeah,
wave at us?
That'd be great, right? Being authentic, acting consistently with who you hold yourself out to be. Acting consistently with Pooja,
Okay.
please.
So I definitely struggled with being authentic in terms that sometimes at work when things are not ideal, I had trouble being honest about it, and like it's because the words would probably be harsh. So the balance between trying to be nice and trying to be honest sometimes leans more heavily towards being nice.
That's great. That's great. Thanks. Now, and this is for everyone, not just for Pooja, but the honesty and authenticity are distinct, right? They're not the same thing, right? So you can be authentic about having been dishonest, right? You can be authentic about having been dishonest. And while honesty certainly provides for one being seen as a trustworthy person, right? It doesn't necessarily impact leadership the way authenticity does. So Pooja, in the case, authentically, what was going on for you? What was going on for you when you were confronted with that opportunity, right? Okay, so here I am. I could say something, I could not, right? What was there for you?
So I have a junior member on the team, and for the past couple of weeks, the work quality was not as expected. And I want to help him grow. And I have already given feedback in the past, but it seems that it's not really sticking. So that's where it's like, how can I be more brutal or honest about it that, hey, you're not improving despite, is there any way I can help? But it just like it says sometimes people are not willing to take it. How do you go about that?
So I'll answer that in a second, but what you just said, right? Some of what you just said, like, what if you said some of that, right? What if you said, listen, I'm having a hard, I'm challenged to have this conversation, right? And I don't want to have it because I, to hold you in higher regard as a person, right? But, and because I hold you in higher regard as a person, I want you to improve, right? But the work isn't, the work isn't up to standard. But I did want to share with you, this was a hard conversation for me to have, right? That's what was there for you, right? That's authentic, right? So, and then and what if somebody's not willing to, you had a second question, like, what if somebody's not willing to take it?
Yeah, I have tried that in the past, and in some people it has worked, and some it has not. So
Okay.
I gave up after some time, maybe 3 attempts is the max. If people are not willing to adjust, I consider like I did my best, and if people are not willing to improve, it's not my problem.
Got it. And do you let them know that you have that role?
Yeah, that's the part. I don't let them know, like, I have given this feedback and you haven't paid attention. So I'll be holding off in further because I don't think you are taking it. Like, I'm making an attempt to help you improve, but you're not respecting me. So I don't tell that.
That's great. I mean, nothing you said here felt disempowering or inappropriate to me. I mean, I'm one data point, but it's saying what's there. It's just saying what's there and being authentic about your inauthenticities, right? The thing that you're pretending, or like I'm pretending to be nice, but I'm really, really frustrated right now, right? Because this is like the third time we're having this conversation. All right. Thanks, Pooja.
Thank you.
Maggie, how'd it go?
Hello. I think one thing I've realized is that just throughout my life, I've always been too nice and just kind of let people, I just say yes a lot. I've been a people pleaser, and in my personal life and in my professional life. So in recent years, I've kind of gone through some things and have learned to really speak up in my personal life. And I just don't take crap from anybody, even strangers. It's very Texan to, be polite and then kind of call people out maybe in a joking way. But I mean, it takes a lot to get there. Usually you just kind of, be nice and polite. But now I really don't do that so much anymore. If I see somebody doing something wrong, if they're wronging me, whatever, I'll call it out. And in business, I've learned that, or I've kind of observed myself still being afraid and kind of worried about the outcome of, what if I speak up and I, piss somebody off and then I get in trouble or then I get fired or then, my mind just kind of goes. And so this week I really, really sort of took charge of that and just said, you know what, at the end of the day, do I want to risk getting fired, like that would ever actually happen, just for, being a little more bold or being true to myself. But, in my head, I'm imagining the worst case. But I thought, okay, would I rather risk getting fired for being true to myself? Or do I want to sit here and not be authentic and not be honest and not, speak up when I need to, and just like suffer in silence, basically. And so yesterday, a perfect situation, like the perfect opportunity presented itself for me to speak up to somebody who, quite honestly, has kind of, been a little difficult for me, been a challenge for me to deal with this person. And they do hold a position of much greater authority than I do. But I stood up to her, and I did it in order to advocate for a group of team members at work who no longer have a leader. They don't have anybody to speak for them, and they were left out of a conversation. And I just kind of took it upon myself to stand up for them. And I didn't know how this leader would respond, and it's still kind of up in the air, but I feel really good about it, and I'm really glad I did it. So
really great. So the Maggie, the pretense earlier. So by the way, it takes a really big person to risk looking bad. It does. And so, Maggie, that you took a risk, and that in itself makes you not an ordinary human being, right? The ordinary human beings suffer in silence. So I wanted you to get that. What do you think you were pretending when you were being nice? What's the pretense there? You're pretending you like these people? You're pretending they're good people? What are you pretending?
I think it has to do with not wanting to rock the boat and not wanting to cause anybody discomfort, even if they're in the wrong. It's sort of like, I don't want to be the annoying one. I don't want to be like, we all have this plan and here's Maggie speaking up. Now we got to, deal with that issue. It's sort of like a fear of being the naysayer or the heckler or the negative person.
Yeah. Well, something to just consider, and keep in your back pocket is at some point sharing that. Like sharing that, like that's what it was for you, right? And you're taking something on now that's different, and you may be a little clunky in the beginning, right? You're used to being nice. You have years of practice at being nice, right? You don't have years of practice in being authentic. However, if you talk, let folks know you're taking something else on, you get a little space for being clunky. And just something to think about, right? And just in everybody's when you're authentic about your inauthenticity, not just the people in front of you are listening or watching, right? Others are listening and watching too, right? Others that you may need to lead at some point, right? So take every opportunity I get to be authentic about inauthenticity, I take it. Everyone I get, I just take it. So, thanks, Maggie.
Thank you.
Keep going. Keep going. Very good. And then somebody wanted to share. I think I saw a chat fly by.
Was that Oliver Anderson?
Yes. Oliver, do
Yes,
you still want to go? Yeah, go ahead. Please.
Yeah, I'll be real quick. I just thought about authenticity in its most basic form. And a lot of us have accents, and I have naturally a redneck Southern accent, and I've done my best throughout my life to hide it, but I find it slipping out in when I'm trying to speak freely or openly. But I've learned just to deal with it, and that's part of being authentic. And I have a Southern accent, and that's okay. And to those of you who have accents and try to hide them in business and things, I don't think it's really necessary the older I get. And to the others who've spoken, the other thing I've learned is these things can all be resolved in communication, and communication is and all of those issues and communicating with other people we work with, it's so hard, but I think we're all maturing and we learn how to deal with them. And each one of these issues, we talk about them and talk about them openly. And this forum is great. I'm enjoying the conversation. So thank you.
You're welcome, Oliver. Thank you for speaking up about the accent thing. People will ask me where I'm born, and I'll say I'm born in India, and then the next thing that comes is, wow, you don't have an accent, and what I say in response is, this is an accent, right? This is my American accent, right? So not leaving them with something, right, that actually isn't what is. Yeah, really great. And then what's the second thing you brought up, Oliver? The second point about there was the accent.
Communication.
Oh, yes,
I just said communicating openly and freely. Don't hold those things in. It's much better to communicate with your peers and even your bosses. I worked with a guy who used to tell me always, you need to manage your manager, and the only way to do that is through communication. And so
yeah,
if you have issues with people you work with, it's best to ferret them out and not let them fester.
And what that, you hit on the something that we see a lot is that leaders are communication ninjas. Leaders are communication ninjas, right? And you're about to see why in a moment. You're about to see why in a moment. So thanks for teeing that up, Oliver. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Let's keep going. Great shares. All right, so foundational factor number 3, being given being and action by something bigger than oneself, right? So being given your being and being given your action by something bigger than yourself, okay? And it's a little bit of a mouthful. All right. So let me get to my notes here. Are great leaders truly extraordinary people, right? we learn about great leaders after they've gotten there. You notice that? You didn't know they were a great leader until you saw them on TV, right? They were an overnight success. When the whole story's told, right? When the whole story's told, we see this over and over and over. And just think the leaders that you've looked up to. Every great leader was an ordinary person who was given being and action by something bigger than themselves. If you really look, ordinary people being given being and action by something bigger than themselves. In fact, to assume that these great leaders started out as extraordinary actually demeans what it took for them to go beyond who they wound up being. Right? And more importantly, holding them as extraordinary people, right, conceals your access to being a leader. Because if you think you need to be extraordinary to be a leader, take my word for it, it's going to give you no access to being a leader. It's going to give you no access to being a leader. Go ahead, next. So true leaders, they are heroes. They are, right? Another way to say it, and we'll get into what's in the quotes later, they are cause in the matter of heroic achievements. They are. They are. Next. However, they are also ordinary people like you and me, right? I just said this, ordinary people who are giving being in action by something bigger than themselves. Next. Right? Okay, so bigger than oneself. So let's take a moment. What's the self I'm talking about? Right? What's the self I'm talking about? All right. The self I'm talking about is the self you wound up being. Right? Now, I want you to do a little exercise. Okay. I want you to take up a piece of paper or open up a note app or, you know, all right. We haven't done this one yet, have we? We haven't done the.
No, we have
okay.
not.
Okay, good. So now, you know that you're a certain way, right? You're nice, right? They take a page out of Maggie's book, or you're good at this, or you're not good at that, or what, right? So start a list of your ams, right? I am smart. I am stubborn, whatever. Start a list, get a few on there. Just keep going. And don't overthink it. What are some of the things you know you are? Good, good. Sometimes it takes a minute to get it flowing because the eyeballs can't see themselves. Good. All right. You got a few. Hopefully folks have, at least a couple. Okay. So now, okay, I want you to take that same characteristic, but I want you to write down, instead of I am that thing, whatever that is you chose, I want you to write down, I wound up being that thing. Okay, write that. If you said I am smart, say I wound up being smart. Okay, write a few of those down and actually say it to yourself as you're writing it down. And then as you're writing it down, if you're noticing something about a shift you may not notice a shift, but if you do, raise your hand. Let me know what you're noticing. First, I am, and I wound up being. Ashwin.
Hey, Khush.
Yay.
Uh, when I was writing it down, I realized so much of these adjectives that I define myself with is a function of consequences, function of situations. If I was born, if I were born in another country, to another family, probably a lot of this would have been very different.
Yeah.
I think that's what ran in my head when I wrote this.
That's right. That's right. Huh? Right? What's the good news about that, Ashwin? Was there anything on your list that you sort of was not not traditionally considered a positive thing? You don't have to tell me what it is, but was there something on there?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
I think
So
I need to control my temper. I tend to get angry sometimes, so that's something I want to work on.
good. So you wound up being unable to control your temper from time to
Yes,
time.
sir.
Yeah?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So, we hold ourselves, it's very strange. And we do this more for other people than ourselves, like we're a rock, right? Like we don't change, right? So the good news, right? What's the good news? So what's the good news about the shift that Ashwin is pointing to? Let's take some more hands. Dylan, pick people for me because I can't tell order.
Oh, okay. Sudhir.
All right, Sudhir.
Hey, Khush. So one of the things that I wrote was I am disorganized, and then when I wrote I wind up being disorganized, that kind of reminded how things could get messy, and that shift, like where do I start off? I start off in a balance, in a state of balance, but how things get out of control, and I end up being disorganized. So it kind of made me think, and it kind of made me a little more conscious about how I could be in better control of myself.
Yeah, right. Like if you wound up being that way, you could wind up being another way. Might take a little work, right? That's good news. Good news. It's a little more choice in this than you may have thought. Who's next, Dylan?
I'm not going to say this right. Vikasini.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, you're very kind.
So when I was writing, I wrote like I'm a person who struggles to say no at work. When I wrote the other adjective, so I have a fear of being fired sometimes. That is the reason I do that. But I am working on it now for a couple of months. When I started applying for UCLA, that I can say no at like working on weekends or late hours. I have to. So I started that change, and I feel good about it. Before I was a little scared on saying no. I was never saying no. So people assume that anyways, she is available,
Yeah.
granted. So now I feel it's different.
Yeah, and people can treat us like we're rocks, right? Like we can't change sometimes, right? And we show up that same way for that person, right? We just show up that same way because they listen us the same way. But yeah, you could wind up being another way. You could wind up being somebody who says no to work on weekends. Possible, right? At least it's possible, right? Yeah. Ananda.
Hey, I think one of the funny things that ended up happening for me in this exercise was that I wrote like a lot of, positive characteristics, trying to do those things, right? Self-affirming. And then when you change from I am to I wound up being, it removes this intention as if like I've accomplished these things and I've, been able to grow and develop these, attributes that I'm proud of, and as a consequence of something other than the work that I put in myself. So I thought that was like an interesting exercise from that perspective, to remove some of that ownership and kind of share that from the additional influences and how it's nature and nurture and all of the in-betweens. But that, yeah, I thought that was interesting.
I mean, I couldn't have said it any better, right? I couldn't have said it any better. Thank you. Great thing to notice. And it is amusing after we're strange, right? Do you know that we all are afraid of being fired? Do you know that somebody's afraid of you firing them? Right? But we have it hold us. Lindsay.
Thank you so much, Khush. So as I was doing this, I was writing down all these things like I am this, I am that. And then when I changed to I wound up being, the first thing that went through my head was, how did I get from A to B and what made me this way? And the first things that came to my head was like, well, when we're born, it's all these outside influences, how we were raised, et cetera, that kind of shaped us to who we are today. And so I started going through this journey in my head of like, okay, well, one of them was, I am resilient, and then I am impatient. And I was like, okay, well, how did I become resilient? And I thought about the hardships I've had to overcome. And I thought about, why am I impatient? And I'm like, oh, because I always want to do things now. And so I think there was like more of a reflection process of, again, point A to point B.
And empowering. I can hear empowerment a little bit, right? Because you could choose to do something differently.
Yes.
And that's really what this is all about, right? I want you to have power. We're going to talk about power, not the domination kind, but this is about you being empowered. All right? Let's keep going. Thank you, everyone. Did we get to everybody, Dylan?
Yes, that was the hand raised.
Okay, great. Okay, right. So now, okay, so we get, right, that you wound up being one way, you could wind up being another way. Okay, so how do you create your life now being about something bigger than yourself, right? Go ahead. Next. So we asked you this question up front, right? What's it all about? What are you here for? What's your career about? What's your schooling about? Your relationships? What's it about? Dylan knows this story, but I'll tell it anyway. It's a story my colleague shared with me about Yo-Yo Ma going to go, the world-class violinist going to go get his COVID vaccine, right? And you know how after you get COVID vaccine, you get wait 15 minutes for them to see if you're going to have a reaction. And so there he was, he got his vaccine, and he had his cello with him because there's some insurance reason why he can't leave his cello in his car, right? So he had his cello with him, and in that 15 minutes, someone asked, that other people were waiting too, they asked him if he was going to play, right? And so he got out his cello and he played for everybody waiting their 15 minutes, and people started to pull up chairs, people started to gather. And then he was interviewed about this later on one of the morning shows. And I said, it's like, what had you do that? And he goes, it's what I'm here for. When people need music, right? I will play. That's what I'm here for, right? What are you here for? Next. Take a stand, right? A suggestion, take a stand for being something bigger than your concerns for yourself, right? That thing you wrote down perhaps is your stand, right? For sure, it's got to be bigger than personal fame, personal position, authority, or money, right? All good, nothing wrong, not gonna get you to leadership, right? Nothing wrong. And you have to ask yourself, are you willing to take a stand? i.e., are you willing to have something in your life you're willing to give your life for? Now, you don't necessarily mean physical life, right? You don't mean harakiri, right? But all in, right? You're gonna put all the chips in, right? You're willing to give all the chips to it. Your life as you know it, right? What is that? What is that, right? And it's going to be different for all of you, but I highly recommend you figure that out and keep that in mind. Next. So here's how to do it. Oh, Ashwin, question?
Kush, I just want to share a thought process.
Please.
So one of the things, right, when you said something about taking a stand, right, in retrospect, right, like in most times when we have that choice in front of us, various virtues and values come in play, and I have taken stands in the past, but not all of those stands actually end well, right? In retrospect, sometimes we feel, should I have been a little bit more pragmatic about the whole thing? Should I have played it a little bit better so that something valuable, some important business opportunity was not lost, be it in sales or other things? So what are your thoughts on that? Just wanted to.
So tell me, like, give me a little more detail about the scenario. So there you are, right?
Right.
You can change the names and de-identify as needed if you need to. So there you are. And what is the stand? Can you tell me? My stand is that. Finish the sentence.
Very recently, in fact, very recently in one of the business situations, when I was closing a sales deal, it was a big account, and we were very confident about closing the sale deal. But the client was sort of unfairly delaying a few things and unfairly handling it. So I took a stand and told them, hey, can you please let me know if this is on or not? I'm part of a relatively new company, and we are still establishing our portfolio. So would have meant a big deal for us to get that account. But in retrospect, we lost it. But I just keep wondering, hey, is it because I took a stand? Probably should I have let it marinate a little bit more? So
Got it. Got it. Thank you. Ashwin. It's really clear. So consider that you may not have taken a stand. You may have taken a position, right? You may have taken a position. However, there is a stand in there somewhere. And let's work together to suss it out. So how come you needed them to get back to you timely, right? Or stop messing around? Like, how come? Because you
basically,
said
so basically, in any conversations, right? Like basically, I have to answer a certain set of questions, propose something, and they would need to get back, and they have their end to fulfill, right? So, especially in client customer relationship, it's very hard for one person to play the whole thing, right? So, some of the roles and responsibilities that they were supposed to fulfill, they did not. And which was bordering on unethical stuff, right? Like, should I take it? Should I just suck it up, or should I just take a stand? So that's something I.
So there we go. So there was something about ethics in there.
Yes,
right. There was something. That's the stand.
Mm-hmm.
The stand is right, and perhaps right. What perhaps got said was a position. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But if imagine sort of a different ending, right? Where the stand you took was, hey folks, like, we're an ethical company and we want to do business with ethical companies. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, we want to make sure that we start off on the right foot. Right. And this doesn't feel like we'd start off on the right foot. Right.
Right.
So,
but sometimes that leads to ugly consequences, right? Is that
it can. It can. That's what a stand is, right? Are you willing? Are you willing? Are you willing to give it up?
Right.
For your stand. And sometimes it doesn't go well. Right?
Yep.
Leadership isn't always fun.
Yes.
Not always. Sometimes, but people do throw tomatoes at you. And every once in a while they take a shot. Yep. But great. It's a great example, Ashwin. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Let's keep going. All right. So go a little faster here. So the first, so here's how you do it. Okay. Here's the first step. You got to ask yourself 2 questions. This is, how do you create your life about being something bigger than yourself? All right. Are you, ask yourself, am I given being in action by something bigger than the way I wound up being? Because the way you wound up being is like a vacuum cleaner. Like it's like if you don't have something, that's bigger than you, the way you wound up being tends to win. Right? You have to have a counterweight. So first ask yourself, are you given being in action by something bigger than myself? The self I wound up being. And next, right, you answer. And then, right, you say what your life is about, right? What is it like? What's it all about? And you might need to be ruthlessly honest with yourself about the willingness you're going to have to do to show up for that thing that's bigger than you. All right. Next. So this is very the title of this slide is very, very sobering. But it happens. We call them crucible moments. Right? If you've heard about crucible moments, on their way to greatness, these great leaders, you can interview them. They'll say, oh, they face times of being really massively thwarted, right? They want to quit, essentially. Like, no, there's no help coming. I'm not the one. I quit, right? Every great leader can share multiple instances like that, right? To get yourself through the tough times, you're gonna have to have in place that's something that's bigger than yourself and your circumstances, right? And I recommend you don't wait till you find yourself in the valley of the shadow of death to get the purpose in life. Do it now, right? Unless you enjoy jumping out of a plane and then fumbling out for your parachute, right? It's a little more stressful that way, right? Find your parachute now, okay? Next, your access to leadership ultimately is what you stand for. Your access to being a leader is through creating your life and your career or your schooling and your relationships to be about something that calls forth being in action that would be unrecognizable to you as the person you wound up being, right? Your stand has you be someone that would be unrecognizable to the person you wound up being. Right? That is your access. Your access is through your stand. And so you got to figure out what that is. For Ashwin, it's, it's ethics, right? Or taking care of each other or whatever that is, right? And he's willing to walk for it, right? Then greatness is available. Yeah, good. Remember, so right, it all goes back. All of this goes back to the power context, right? What is that thing you stand for? Like your stand is a context, right? It's a context that gives you your being and acting in the moment, right? So do we have time for breakouts, folks? What do we think? Dylan, Jill? Well, let's do one.
I think we do. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So let's go back into, so now, right? Like now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go into your breakouts. And first, here's what I want you to do. You cannot plop something bigger than something bigger on who you wound up being. That's like putting like icing on cow dung, hoping it goes down a little easier. Okay. So first you got to get super clear about what it's been about. Okay. What has it been about? It's about being nice. It's about getting ahead. It's been about, what's it been about? Right. And you can't make it wrong. It's just been about what it's been about. Okay. Right. And then I want you to share what it could be about. Right. Okay. And like, I can't emphasize enough, don't make the way you wound up being wrong, right? That which you resist, persists, really, right? Make it wrong, it's harder to get rid of it, right? Let it be, and it will let you be. All right, so that's what I want you to go into the breakout. What has it really been about to date, right? And what could it be about that's bigger than you are? All right, let's go to breakouts.
Breakout rooms are open.
Thanks, Aaron. So we'll do the same 12 minutes, Khush?
I would do little less,
Okay.
just so we can, let's see, there's 4 of them, some 3, I'd like maybe 8 minutes.
Okay.
So maybe
Fine.
that's, you can tell them, Aaron, they have 8 minutes.
So
Okay.
they went in about 6:43. Okay.
There's like some rooms with only one person, but now there, I think
Yes,
there's
I'm
two.
working to move them into a different. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. How do we feel about people who are in a room with just 2?
I mean, they can still do the exercise.
I could combine them. There's room
Yeah.
11 and then
Yeah,
2 and then
you could do some,
4. Okay.
and Aaron, I'll start a message to everybody, just saying we're doing some reshuffling, just because of numbers.
Great interactions, Khush.
Thank you.
That's a lot of hands going up. So
Yeah.
that's they're hearing the discovery possibility,
Yeah.
is my observation.
Here, let me send it.
My apologies, I got kicked out.
It's all right. It's the world we live in now, world of internet instability and
At least now we can blame the internet for being kicked out.
well, I tell you what, if we had no internet, we'd all be dead right now. Civilization would be over as we know it. I think it's what happened to the dinosaurs, right? A pandemic. They just didn't have the internet.
So how do I join back the breakout room? Or
Aaron's working on it.
Do you remember what room you were in, Pooja? Hey.
16, I
Nice to
guess.
see you.
1
16?
16. Okay, okay, thanks. You should be able to join now.
Okay. Richard, are you there? Just want to make sure you don't need support.
Yeah, Mitch has the opportunity for room 3. Richard has the opportunity for room 9. But if Richard joined that room, he'd be the only person there. So Richard, if you need, or if you'd like to be in a room, let us know. We can make that happen. He may be listening from work or something.
I'm going to switch them to 4 just in case.
Thank you. Ah, yeah, he's on a call.
Yeah, Richard's on a call. Got it, Richard. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. We just want to make sure you were taken care of. I never heard it said that way. Make a list of your AMs. I like that. Make a list of your AMs. And that's a cool, like,
And you can all tell people to stop amming themselves too. Stop amming yourself.
I love, because I know this exercise, but it's still, it always kind of hits me. You know, I am funny, smart, high energy, bold, loving, tender, forgetful, eager, smiley, committed. And then I wound up being
No,
bold.
you just wound up being those things.
It's so like, it makes my shoulders drop. It's like, oh, I don't have to be funny. You know?
Yeah.
I think it's the way, who said it? Oh, Ananda, when she talked about, you know, I noticed they were all kind of positive, but it's interesting when I put them in, I wound up being, it removes that ownership need. That was a cool, that was a cool inquiry she was.
There's a lot of freedom in it, for sure. All right, how are we doing on Breakout? How many more minutes do we
Maybe
have?
two or three left, something like that.
All right, let me get.
My cell phone said we started at 6:42, 6:43, so that's about 6:50, 6:51.
Two-minute warnings out.
Thank you. It's fun for me too. Just my mom's, you know, here, not even 24 hours, visiting for a week. And, you know, like when mom energy is in the space, I notice I have a different experience of myself. And it's all that young age, you know, and I got, you know, it's all loving and nurturing. And there's kind of a,
Context is decisive, you know?
Yeah, it's like I'm a grown man, but my mom's here.
Yeah. Did you share that with her?
No, I'm seeing it in this session right now. Just noticing the energy.
Well, I know, knowing your mom, I think she'd love the conversation.
Yeah, opportunity for me to be authentic.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm from the South. We don't do that foundational factor. I'm sorry. It's not in our repertoire. That's one of the things you Northerners might do. But
that's right.
In the South, everything is fine, even if the house is on fire. Oh my. I love the thing about accents too. I say that in my introductory slide. I'm from the South. You may hear a slight twang, and it's so cool. Like after I say it, it just relaxes my whole, because I get the same thing. People are going to think I'm a hick. They're going to, it's weird. I've got a story about, oh, it's not good to have an accent, you know, and then you work to cover it up, which makes it worse. Versus just saying, I grew up in Texas. You might hear a twang, you know.
Yep.
Just freeze it.
Freedom.
Oh, I forgot to.
A different kind of freedom for the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Setting people up for. All right. Should be coming back now.
Do you see the timer, Aaron, or?
Should be closing in 33 seconds.
They should be arriving shortly.
10 seconds.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
All right. Shall I begin? Is everybody back that is going to be back? Oh, we've got a couple.
it's
No, we've got a
actually
few more. We've got a few more.
15 more.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
Rooms are closed.
All right.
All
Yeah.
right, now everybody's back. Is 116 closed too? Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. So hopefully you've left this conversation or this particular breakout with a parachute, right? That you can start to decorate as your career develops. All right. So new conversation. Okay. Foundational factor, being cause of the matter. Being cause in the matter happens to be a uniquely powerful place from which to view, comprehend, or deal with any situation you're going to be confronted with as a leader. Okay. Next. So those of you that were here for lab 1 will remember this slide, right? So there's the facts of the situation, right? But we don't interact with those. We think we do, but what we respond to and interact with is the way the situation occurs for us or shows up for us. And how a situation shows up for us is idiosyncratic to us. I mean, it's personal to us. It's not showing up that way for anybody else. Newsflash, everyone. You know those arguments you're having with your partners and spouses? And I didn't say that. Yeah, you did. Right. Who knows? Who really knows, right? We just deal with how the facts occur for us. Next, right? So just follow the logic here for a moment, okay? So we only interact with how the facts occur for us, right? So let's talk about being at effect, right? So logically, right? If you're not in fact, the direct cause of something, the situation in this case, if you're not the cause of it, you're at effect of it. Okay, so just consider, duck walks into a bar, okay? If you're not, in fact, the direct cause of the situation, you are at effect of the situation. At the very least, you had no choice, right, in dealing with the circumstances that you've been dealt, right? But even if you had no choice, you're still at effect, right? That's no choice, at effect, okay? All right, next slide. So power, and now by power, like I was starting to say earlier, I don't mean power like dominate. I mean power the way the physicists might hold it, achieving results with velocity, right? Achieving the results you want with velocity, that kind of power, right? The power that's an M power. Okay, so another duck walks into a bar. Consider that power is the being that is able to cause what happens, right? If you can cause what happens, like that's power, right? If you can say chair, right? And all of a sudden the chair appears, right? That's power, right? Somebody just ran you a chair. Okay, next. And then, to the degree that you're effect, you lack power. Okay. Okay, again, like everything we've been talking about, it's not a matter of good or bad. It's not good to have power. There's no power medal, right? It's not bad to not have power. It just is. You either do or you don't. You have the power you need or you don't. Okay? Just is. Unfortunately and ironically, so those situations, so think about this, is those situations in fact in which you don't have power, right, is when you most need it, right? You've been dealt something, you don't know what to do, right? That's when you need, that's when you need power, right? So turns out, what does this have to do with leadership? If you are at effect, right, you are unlikely to be successful in your exercise of leadership. Or if you occur as being at effect, you are unlikely to be successful in your exercise of leadership. All right. Next. Okay, so we're going to talk about speech acts later, but I'm going to give you one of them now. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about the speech act declaration. So the currency of leadership, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later, is the future. Right? Where are you going? Where are you leading to? right? If there's no future, no leadership's required, right? So the Speech Act used to create powerful new futures for folks to live into is declaration, okay? When you say I declare, you're not talking about something, you're not asserting something, and you're not promising something, right? Rather, declaration brings forth a future as a possibility, right? That's what declaration does. It. Remember, now we all know it. The content of it had issues, right? But the Declaration of Independence, right? That's what I want you to think about declaration, right? We hold these truths to be self-evident. The rest that came after, a little bit hypocritical. However, we hold these truths to be self-evident. Okay. It's a future it's not a someday, maybe kind of positive thinking future, right? It's a declaration, right? This is powerful when who you are is causing the matter, right? So now when I say, like when I'm asserting something, I'm making a statement about facts. Like I'm asserting 2 and 2 make 4, right? And that's an assertion, right? The declaration, or in this case, the declaration, I am causing the matter, is a choice from which to view and relate to the facts. It's not a statement of the facts. It's a choice of where to stand when you look, okay? Not making an assertion that that you're causing the matter. I'm not making that assertion. That'd be ridiculous. You didn't cause the conditions or make them happen, right? Not making it as an assertion. I'm making a declaration, right? A place to stand from which then I can view, comprehend, and deal with facts of a situation. So when I stand in front of a situation and say, okay, right, I have no choice or there's nothing I can do, that's one way to handle it. Another way to handle it is, I am causing the matter here. I am causing the matter. How am I causing the matter of this going the way it's going? And how can I be causing the matter of going differently? Now, the story I like to tell about this is the 2016 election. And I don't mean to be political here, but so I didn't like the way it went. Okay, I was one of in the group that didn't like the way that election went. And I was upset about it. Oh, and wait, see, we have a raised hands. We'll get to you in a second, Sarah. And let me just get through this point. I was upset about it. I was depressed. I was, like I'm moving to another country, all of that, right? Okay. And then, of course, I have this leadership training, right? So I went, okay, hang on. Khush, how are you causing the matter here? How are you causing the matter of this election, right? Now, as an assertion, that'd be stupid, right? However, as a place to look, when I looked from there, when I asked myself the question, how are you causing the matter of this going this way, right? Some interesting answers showed up for me. One answer that showed up was, oh, well, you looked down at your nose at Uncle Randy, didn't you? And they all the Uncle Randys voted, right? There's something about, there is a way in which we held education in our family, right? That had Uncle Randy not feel so empowered, right? Oh, maybe I could deal with the Uncle Randys in the world a little differently, right? I could be causing the matter there. Maybe I could bridge something. So it's just an answer I got when I looked from a particular place. Okay, that was empowering. I could actually see there was I could do something rather than be depressed and want to move to another country. Right? Good. That's what I'm talking about. Declaration versus stand. Sairam, your question.
Hi, thank you. I just want to go back to your previous slide on the leadership and power.
Yes.
I have a slightly different observation.
Okay.
Maybe I don't know if that aligns with what you're saying, but the fact a leader thinks or a leader assumes he has that power or the ability or the need to use the power, does that inherently tell that a leader is actually lacking something when he or she is trying to use the power?
So what I think, Sairam, what you might be pointing to is force, right? Force is distinct from power, right? So, and force will pretty much guarantee, I've found, that folks aren't going to follow you. They might avoid you. They might do things to make sure that they're not on your bad list, right? But they're not going to follow you. They're not going to follow you across the abyss. So power, right, it's the ability to generate results with velocity. Doesn't mean you physically have to generate those results. You can empower others to generate those results, right? Leader doesn't mean you're the center of the universe, or you're, always at the front of the parade, or always at the dais at the press conference, right? But so Saram, I don't know if that force, what you were talking about sounded like force.
But you're right. I agree with what you're saying. But I'm trying to say is, a force isn't that an extension of a power that is inherently available to a leader, and the way a leader channelizes the power or the force is probably directly related to the growth of an individual or that of a company or a group or so on and so forth.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We might be in violent agreement, Saram.
Okay.
It absolutely makes a difference. And I would just start to look, right? Start to look at when you've been led effectively, right? Or you've just been, forced and, put in a place of fear, right? And did you really consider that person a leader, right? Or were they just a authority that you were trying to appease, right? I would, it's not leadership.
But sometimes even the power or the force is also exhibited through silence, right? There could be a situation when a leader is supposed to speak up, right? The other people, or the direct reports and the direct reports of the direct reports, rely on their leaders to actually speak up for them, because they cannot speak always. And sometimes the leadership through force, by being silenced, is also what I'm trying to get at. Doesn't it depend on the individual characteristics of a person that actually defines how a power or a force is actually being utilized?
Close.
And how do we channelize that individual characteristic to our benefit? Not in a negative way, but to look for that,
to get the results, that they want, right? Absolutely, to get the results. So what you're pointing to, Sairam, is something we go into deeply in the course, right? Which we just don't have time to get into in the depth we need to in these kinds of sessions, which is so.
No problem. Thank you.
No, but I'm gonna give everybody a sneak preview. So you've just contributed something. What kind of leadership is needed? What kind of leadership is most effective? Well, the kind the situation calls for, right? If the situation calls, if silence is going to get the job done, then that's what leadership's going to look like, right? Guess what? If this room's on fire, well, if we were in a room and it was on fire, leadership would look like we're getting out now, right? I'm not going to sit around and have an empowering conversation, right? The situation calls for a particular kind of leadership, right? So if you are a one kind of leader, you're only going to be ineffective in certain situations, right? If you're a hammer leader, you're only going to be effective in nail situations, right? So the most effective leaders actually are able to use context to discern life on its own terms. So the leadership that's required is obvious. And we get into that, but it's whatever the situation calls for. Now you have to diagnose the situation correctly and all of that. But I just wanted to sort of pull right on your coattails a little, Sairam, and pull that in for folks.
No,
There's
thank
no
you.
one kind of leader. Yeah, very good. All right, let's keep going. Where are we? Are we at where power? Oh, we're going back to power. There we go, back to power. So look, we don't mean this like fault or blame or credit or shame or right. For many people, having caused something like the you did it can't be seen as anything other than fault or credit, right? But that's not what we mean, right? Being cause in the matter has nothing to do with blame or credit or who's at fault or who made it happen or who should be rewarded. In fact, and think about this, think about situations where this has happened. In exercising leadership, who is at fault or to blame or who gets credit or who did it, all those conversations convey no power, right? If you think of this, just sounds like excuses, right? It's more likely to be disempowering to start to deal with fault or blame, right? No. Keep going. And then, again, back to, right, context is decisive. And I'll read this quote from one of the authors of the course, Werner Erhard. He says that this is how he talks about it, and it just lands when I read this quote. Ultimately, being cause in the matter is a context from which one chooses to live. Being cause in the matter is not burden, fault, praise, blame, credit, shame, or guilt. There's no evaluation of good or bad or right or wrong. There is simply what's so, and then your stand. There's simply what's so, and then your stand. Being cause in the matter starts with a willingness to deal with a situation from the view of life that you are the generator of what you do, what you have, and what you are. It's not the truth, right? It's a place to stand. No one can make you cause in the matter, nor can you impose being cause in the matter on another. It's a grace you give yourself, an empowering context that leaves you with a say in the matter of life. And we're here to empower you. Next. So, something, we're not going to go into, I don't think we're going to go into a breakout, but I want to leave you with this, right? Okay, how can you be cause in the matter of whatever's going on with grad school preparation? Right? Yeah, the pandemic, yeah, remote, yeah, money, all of that. Yeah. Cause in the matter. Your cause in the matter of this going great. Right? What do you see when you look from there? All right. Okay. Next conversation. We're going to start to bring it all together. All right. So consider that the most important tool that you have as a leader is your voice, your mouth, what comes out of it, right? It's a matter of your word. You'll start to see why we were harping on that integrity thing so much. All right, next, just a review, okay? What is integrity? A matter of honoring one's word, right? Nothing more, nothing less. Your word being whole, complete, unbroken, unimpaired, sound, and in perfect condition. Remember, it's not good to have integrity, not bad. You either do or you don't. And you have enough of it or you don't. Okay, next. Right, and remember this list? It's not just what you promised, by the way. It's all this that's expected of you and unspoken. Make the mess even worse. All right, next. Okay, so Dylan talked about what leadership as a leader in leadership as a phenomenon earlier. This is, on the ontological phenomenological model. Well, here's what we mean by the phenomenological part of it. Leader in leadership, consider that they exist in the sphere of language. Leadership exists in the sphere of language, right? No language, no leadership. And what do I mean by language? Well, speaking and writing, right? Those are the obvious ones. But I also mean speaking and writing, listening to yourself, right? Or thinking, right? Or in your actions, as in actions speak louder than words. Like that's all language, right? Even listening is language, right? It's a particular kind of communication. It's a particular kind of conversation, okay? So now we're gonna put it all together, right? Keep going. I'm gonna give you the definition of exercising leadership, okay? Now, we make a promise in the full course that you will leave being a leader and exercising leadership effectively as your natural self-expression. Can't make that promise. So I can't say that knowing this definition is going to turn you out as a leader, right? But it might help, okay? So what is this exercising leadership? So leadership is defined as an exercise in language that results in a created future. Okay, so hang on 1 second, Joe. So think about anytime you've seen a leader. Right? Okay, just think about a leader. In your work, at the dinner table, right? In community social movements. What are they doing when you see them leading? What they're talking, right? When you see Dr. Martin Luther King, right? There's talking. Right? They are communicating. So it's an exercise in language, and it's a particular kind of exercise that results in a created future. Okay, keep going. That the leader and those being led come to live into. Right? It's an exercise in language that creates a future that folks come to live into. You're always living into a future, I promise you, one way or the other. Yeah. And that gives you your mood in the present and your way of being. Future is context too. Okay. So which future gives them being an action in the present that results in the realization of the future that wasn't going to happen anyway? Which future fulfills or contributes to fulfilling the concerns of the relevant parties, including critically those who granted the leadership, right? Those who lead you and those you lead. Okay, so I'm going to read the whole thing again. Leadership is defined as an exercise in language that results in a created future that the leader and those being led come to live into. Which future gives them being and action in the present that results in the realization of the future that wasn't going to happen? Which future fulfills or contributes to fulfilling the concerns? By concern, I mean matters of fundamental importance, not worried. Concerns of the relevant parties, including those who granted the leadership. That's it. And that's it. That's all it is. It's available to you tomorrow. When somebody says, go lead, that's what they're talking about. You're going to have to open your mouth, right? Or communicate in some way to create a future that the folks you lead are going to live into, so they feel that they're going to make a noteworthy contribution to that future. That's how you're going to have to create it, right? Yeah. Let's keep going. And as I mentioned before, future is the currency of leadership. In order for leadership to be present, or the creation of a new future, a future that was not going to happen, that future must be evoked. In order for leadership to be present, a new future must be evoked, right? So if no new future is needed, if we know where we need to go and there's a clear-cut pathway to doing it, you need management, okay? You don't need leadership. Leadership is, there's no answer, there's no agreement, there's no precedent. We have no idea. It's a mess, usually. That's when leadership's required, right? So in our course, there's a whole module we go into. It's called Creating a Created Future. But the point I want to leave you with here is that created future, a future that's created, is distinct qualitatively from you're living into a future right now. It's just the expected, predictable, past-derived default future. So when Shakespeare was talking about that life creeps at a petty pace, right? That's what he's talking about, right? We just live into like, we're just going to live into tomorrow. Like tomorrow's going to be like today, tomorrow, right? Heidegger, the philosopher, actually refers to this phenomenon as tranquilized obviousness. We go through life with tranquilized obviousness, right? But when you can pierce that tranquilized obviousness, right? That's what we're addressing today. We're addressing what it takes to interrupt that petty pace of life and to live into a new created future. That's what leadership has to do. It has to interrupt the petty pace, right? So sometimes not so comfortable. One of my colleagues defines leadership as disappointing your people at a rate they can stand. I like that definition too. Okay, let's keep going. All right, so you're gonna be talking somehow. That's why your word, so the pristine unbrokenness of your word matters, because that's what you're gonna use to create this future that everybody's gonna live into, right? And make noteworthy contributions to, right? So let's talk about some powerful speech acts, right? So for you to be a leader and exercise leadership as your natural self-expression, like spontaneously in any leadership situation, there you are, somebody says, go lead, you can lead, right? Natural self-expression, you will have to create and realize futures that weren't gonna happen anyway, right? We get new future. These futures, they don't exist. Newsflash, the future and the past don't exist. They only exist in language, folks. They're not real. They're a figment of your imagination, okay? They don't exist, they're not happening. They only exist in language, all right? And these futures cannot be predictable or extensions of the past. They have to be new, right? Next. So you're gonna have to gain access to the power of language beyond just mere representation of the world as it already exists, because we need to create something new, right? How do you have language to create something new? Next. In other words, rather than simply using language to represent what is so in the world, you're going to need to be able to use language to bring something new into existence. That is, rather than being limited to making your words match the world, you're going to need to use language so the world comes to match your words. I declare that all children, right? All children will thrive. Right? That's what I live into, right? I'm a social worker. I work in foster, right? Is that so right now? No. But that's what I'm at work on. Keep next. Okay, so here's one speech act, powerful one. We won't go into all of them, but a promise. Okay, what is a promise? When you say I promise, you are not speaking about something. What comes out of your mouth is the promise, right? You're not speaking about it. It's the promise. It's as though when you say chair and a chair would fall out of your mouth, because when you promise, what comes out of your mouth is the promise. The speech act promise brings something into existence that did not exist before. You spoke, and it comes into existence, in fact, as you speak. This speech act has the name promise. And I think there's one more, yeah. A promise is your word given to a person or a human entity for a specific action or a specific result by a specific time. It also has those properties. In other words, there's always a what, to whom, and a by when. So I promise that I will complete all the required readings for class before class. That's a promise. I promise that I will love, cherish you till I die, right? That's a promise. Okay, keep going. Another powerful request. So, sorry, back to, so you start, just try it. Start saying, I promise, and promise, try it, right? Request. Okay, so when you say I request that you're creating a palpable opportunity for someone to make a promise or a declaration or give their word, right? So it's an opportunity. A request is an opportunity. You're presenting an opportunity to someone to contribute, right? You're not trying to get something from them, right? That's a frame that is disempowering. The opportunity created is to either promise to take some specific action. You're creating an opportunity for someone to promise something, or to declare something, or to take on a stand, okay? Next. A request is only a request. That's how you know if it's a request, is if the person who's getting the request has the opportunity to decline or to accept. If they can't decline, it's not a request. Like, well, and we'll go into this later, like your mom saying, requesting you come for Thanksgiving. And it's not really a request you can decline, right? It's not really a request. All right. People cannot authentically say yes to a request if they can't say no. Okay, so that's a request. And it really helps if you say, I request you do that for me by this time. Can you? Right? And they try it. Try I request and see what happens. Tell me what happens. Dylan knows how to find me. Word of warning, expressives are not requests. What do I mean by expressives? So I used to walk around I remember, I'm hungry. I'd just say I'm hungry. And then I'd be mad that my partner didn't make me eggs. Why in a request did she make me eggs? I just said I was hungry, right? That's called expressive. It never goes well. So there's a type of speaking we call, well, I wouldn't say never. There's use for expressives. They just don't call forth action. So there's a specific type of speaking we call expressives, right? Like I just said, I'm angry, I'm hungry, you're annoying me, right? That's an expressive, you're expressive something. They're not requests, and problems arise when you collapse them, right? So think of meetings, right? When people will say, well, I want this, or I want, like it says here, I want this project to be delivered on time, thinking they're making a request. And then when they don't get what they said they wanted, they end up upset, disappointed, and resentful, as if the others broke their agreement, right? That's what happened. Nobody made a request, right? Going. Expressives are expressed as expressives are useful and appropriate. However, do not confuse them with speech acts that create action, okay? I request you make me eggs, right? And they certainly will not contribute to realizing a future that wasn't going to happen. You walking around going, oh, I want world peace. Okay, that's nice. And I'd use this with my 5-year-old. I'm hungry. It's nice to meet you. Hungry? Mom. Well, I'm hungry. I want food. Okay, well, how are you going to get it? Oh, you're going to make a request of me to get it, right? I'd like a snack, please. Oh, okay. Yeah. Something different happens in someone's brain when you say, I request that. Okay, try it. How are we doing on time, and how many slides do I have left? Oh, okay. We'll go a little faster. Keep going. Inviting. Here's another one. You'll get these slides, right? An invitation is distinct from a request in that you're inviting someone to consider something, right? As an opportunity or as a possibility, okay? They don't really, you can decline an invitation if it's a true invitation, right? And it's just to consider, right? You don't necessarily have to accept or decline. Consider it as a possibility. Keep going. With respect to leadership, leaders use invitation to have others engage in the possibility as a possibility, right? And when people get present to a possibility, They may not take it on for themselves yet, right? But it still does live for them as possible, right? The invitation creates a possibility, right? I invite you all to take the course in the summer. I'm inviting all of you to take the summer course, okay? Because what's possible is that you will leave being a leader and exercising leadership effectively as your natural self-expression. I promise it. I promise you will. Okay, there's an invitation. Consider it, right? And if you'd like to hear more, you know, contact Dylan or I. Keep going. Okay, this is a be careful. All right. You know, so you read these when you have them, but this is that like an invitation that's really a request, like your mother inviting you to a holiday dinner, a request that's really a demand you can't decline. Sincerity. Oh, I really intend to do something masquerading as a promise. Intention is not a promise. I really want to do it. It's not a promise. And not putting we're about to talk about this, not putting a promise into existence, which we call the inverse proportion rule. And I'll tell you what the inverse proportion rule is. The length of time between giving your word and putting into existence is inversely proportional to your likelihood of being good for your word. So the longer between when you give your word and you actually put it into existence, the less your likelihood of you being good for your word. So how are you going to put it into existence? So let's go next slide. Okay. So, okay, where's your word? Where is it? Think now, where is it? Is it in, you know, and some folks will say it's in my brain. I promise you, if I open your head, your word is not there. Some in the other person's ears, I promise you, your word is not there, right? Where is it? What the heck is this word you give when it comes time to keep it? Let's keep going. Let's do just the whole slide. So you could say that when one is giving one's word exists in your mouth while you're giving it, okay? For the duration you're speaking. But after that, poof, gone. Conversations disappear, okay? Going. All right, keep going. All right. You know why people say talk is cheap? It's because people give their word, right? But when it comes time to keep them, right? Their word exists in a place that doesn't give them an opportunity to keep their word on time, right? Some people have never given, you're a weird person now. You've actually given thought to where your word goes after you've given it. Most people don't even wonder about that, okay? So where is it? Okay, let's see, go to Jill. Yeah, let's go there. Keep and do the whole slide. Okay, so here I'm going to tell you where, if you don't have an answer for this question about where is your word live when it comes time to keep it, you're not going to be a person of integrity. If you don't know where your word lives when it comes time to keep it, right? You've got to give it existence, right? And here's where your word lives. Next slide. It lives in your calendar. That's one, right? There is a now in which you're going to be doing something, okay? A now is something that has a beginning and an end on a specific date and has a duration, okay? Right? So unless you put your word into existence, that it's gonna happen someday, okay? And I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about someday. Next. Right? Go ahead all the way. Someday never comes. Have you noticed that? You're going to do that thing someday. Amazing stuff is going to happen someday. You talk to people, lots of amazing stuff's going to happen someday, right? Someday never comes, right? When you're actually doing or handling something, it's never later or tomorrow or next week. You know the now in which you're doing it. It's not in your calendar. It's not happening. So last slide. So bring integrity to, you're going to prepare for grad school. You're going to, when are you going to sit down and do it? Oh, on Friday from 10 to noon, I'm going to sit down and do X. Okay, put it in your calendar. And then you just do what your calendar tells you to do. All right. So otherwise, it's something you're going to try to do. It's a nice idea. If it's not in your schedule, it actually isn't in existence. Right. And as we said earlier, to realize a created future, you're going to have to expand your foundation of integrity. And you're going to need your word, right? You're going to need a powerful way of dealing not only with what gets done, right? And we talk about it in the course. You're actually going to have power over things that are never going to get done, right? Because you're never going to get to do it all. But where does your word live? It lives in your schedule. Okay, I think that's 3 minutes over. So next slide, just as a citation, the speech acts, the module comes from this particular course. So want to make sure we nod to them. And Dylan, we sped a little bit through that end part there, but here we are.
Well, Khush, yeah, and everybody, we've gone over by a couple minutes. You know, thank you, Dr. Khush Cooper. This is a pro bono gift of your life's work to us in these 3 labs. Thank you on behalf of all of us. Thank you on behalf of the committee and the team and the 8 UCLA graduate programs here tonight. You know, I could listen to you all day. I learned something every single time. For all of you here tonight, thank you. For those of you who came to labs 2 or 1 or both, thank you. We're going to follow up in the next 48 hours. Sark and I, we will send a feedback.
Dylan, are you promising? You're making a promise, Dylan?
I am making a promise.
What's your promise?
Before Friday at 5 o'clock, you will receive a communication from me, which will include the recordings for all 3 labs, 1, 2, and 3. The survey, we'd love your feedback. And
are you requesting they give the survey in? Dylan?
Yes, and you'll receive the slide decks. And my request is you take the 3 minutes and tell us, you know, what opened up for you. What did you discover for yourself about any of the 3 labs or all of the 3 that you attended? That is my request, that you would take those 3 minutes and tell us something. It will, yes.
Yeah, and you can, if anybody declines that request, email Dylan or I. We'll give you our, right? If you're declining the request.
Play the game. Dylan, thank you so much for your invitation or your
not gonna do it.
I'm not doing it. Yeah, play the game. Practice. The way I wound up being is not the only way I could be.
There's nothing wrong if you're not going to do it. Just tell us you're not going to do it.
Yeah, you've got these next 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7 years at UCLA, depending on your program, to invent yourself for the rest of your life. And we're just all about launching you into that. And your word in the matter, that's your access to anything and everything. God said earlier, communication resolves everything. Everything we want in life is available with our word, our voice. Our voice is who we give the world, when we give ourselves to the world.
Yeah, cherish it. Keep it pristine. Yeah. All right.
Okay, I think that's
Dylan,
it.
thank you for your partnership. And I just want to thank the committee. And again, here's my invitation. I invite you all to come take the course in the summer, and that website there, being a leader -ucla.com has information, and if you email that, Jill Locantore, who's on staff with me, will get back to you. Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone. Welcome to UCLA and have a wonderful summer setting yourself up to win.
Buckle up. Here we go.
Everyone.
Bye.